Well, hello peoples of the internet, my name is Kevin and welcome back to another video. Okay guys, so for today's video I have a very exciting video because it is my first ever author interview that I have ever done, and it's with none other than Becky Albertalli, aka the author of my favorite book of all time, Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda. So you can only imagine how excited I am that I got to do this interview. It was just everything. So about a week ago, I got to sit down with Becky Albertalli and chat to her about her newest book, Kate in Waiting, which has just come out today in the UK and Ireland. So definitely be sure to go check out the book. I'll leave the Goodreads link down below in the description. And so I was just very excited for this interview. It was just amazing, and I don't even want to ramble too much. I just want to get straight into the author interview and let you guys see me and Becky's conversation. Of course, I also had to throw in some Simon related questions to fit into Kate in Waiting just because I could not do it, you know what I mean? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. So hello and hi, welcome Becky Albertalli. I'm so excited that you're here. So first and foremost, if you would just like to introduce yourself and a bit about the new book, Kate in Waiting.
So I'm Becky Albertalli and my newest book is called Kate in Waiting. It is absolutely a theater kid book. It's about a pair of best friend theater kids who end up having a very serious crush on the same guy.
When I first heard like that was the synopsis, I was like, oh my god, that sounds so fun. I feel like it's something that a lot of people will be able to resonate with, especially younger audiences. And then myself, like me and my friend, we have common crushes between each other, so I felt like I instantly was like in the mindset. I was like, I know this exact situation, I am ready. So I have a lot of different questions I want to ask you, and then at the end I kind of want to just go into like a bit fun kind of questions, just as a fan that I want to really know. So the first one being, this is your first book, solo novel, since you wrote the Simon verse. So I wanted to know that when you were writing this book, did it then ease some pressure for you, knowing that you didn't have any like ideas of what people were expecting to come from it, because they're all brand new characters for everyone? So did you feel less pressure going into this one?
Totally the opposite. It's one of those weird dynamics where, you know, I think I got it in my head at least, and I don't know how true this actually is, but that people really just want me to keep rewriting Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. That's like my biggest fear, is that like people are going to reject every book I write other than that. You know, one of the things that I really had to do while writing this was to just write my way out of that particular anxiety, because it really like stops me in my tracks. Like when I'm sitting there with the Word document and trying to think about like, oh, what if people don't like this element of it? Like beginning with the fact that she's a girl, like, you know.
Yeah.
You know, for me, the pressure was really intense until I felt like I really got to know Kate and this cast of characters. And then I got to have fun with them and just, you know, be a part of their world and their story. And it was really a joy to write when I was in that space. And now that I'm kind of in the like book release period, the anxiety is back full force because I haven't released a solo book since 2018, since Leah and the Offbeat. And yeah, just, you know, a lot has happened.
I feel like I thought that myself, like even for you, I was like, I feel like she's probably gonna have a lot of pressure for people like who are only like, I only want Simon, I don't want anything else. And obviously that mindset, people think like that, that's not the way to go about it, because we should encourage new things. And I'm personally am excited to see where you go in the future, like what books you have coming. Anything, I will read literally everything you put out there, so you know you have someone there waiting to just consume whatever you put out. I'm hoping that that pressure does ease for you, because I feel like there is going to be a lot of people that will like this book. So hopefully that helps assure you in any some way. I hope it's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be great. It's gonna thrive. We love that.
You're really good at this. You should be like a therapist for authors kind of in their like book launch period.
Okay, so this is just a very, very basic one, but as someone who is interested into getting into writing and stuff, it's something that really interests me and I love to know, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers would also love to know this. So how and when did you actually come up with the idea for Kate in Waiting?
This one's a little bit of an interesting one. And the idea definitely evolved over time. I am an author who does not have a lot of ideas. So, this may be a little bit unusual. Do not generalize from this. A lot of my friends talk all the time about how they have maybe even like too many ideas, and it's a matter of like sifting through and kind of picking the one to focus their energy on at the time. I exist in like a state of mild panic at all times. It's just like my last idea. I'll never be able to think of one. And then, something tends to start to take shape just as I'm kind of winding down off of the last project. So far, it's worked. I don't trust it. Kate and Waiting came from a lot of places. I mean, so much of it is just like straight up drawn from my like theater kid memories. Like there's just so much of that. Well, the book is dedicated to my friend Adam Silvera, who is a #1 New York Times bestselling author.
Another personal favorite of mine. So yes.
Yeah, oh my gosh, there's mine too. Yeah, so Kate and Anderson, have this super close. Kate is the point of view character. Anderson's her best friend, and they are accused by other friends in their orbit of being codependent, which they deny. But there's a little bit of truth with that.
Yep.
Adam and I aren't, I wouldn't say that we are codependent, but we definitely we have a little bit of that like Kate and Anderson rhythm. Like when we were touring for What If It's Us, it was like our bathroom breaks calibrated to each other, I guess. So there's a lot of that. And I think, one of the things that was really interesting to explore in this book was, this element of competition that gets introduced into this friendship, and just kind of the way they have to grapple with that and navigate that. And that's something that, I think, first of all, I think it is something that you kind of have to find your way through in any like publishing friendship. Like if you are in a creative field and are going to have like close friendships with other people in your field, which I highly recommend, because I wouldn't still be writing without, but like there are going to be times when like you get something that they don't, and there are going to be times when they get something that you don't. And with Kate and Anderson, like this is like Adam and I did not go to high school together, obviously. Yeah, he would have been a child when I was in high school. It would have been the only time I was taller than him, but also maybe not. Yeah, so this is like absolutely not based on a true story. I also had, and I had other inspirations too, like, now they're college kids, but kind of in my community around here in Roswell, Georgia, USA. My neighbor down the street is Anderson. Like he's really named Anderson. So I took a little bit of his whole deal and put him in Anderson. Kind of 5 minutes away or something is his best friend, Kate, who I've known for years. She, babysits my kid. Well, she babysat my kids. We miss her a lot. Not a lot of babysitting happening when A, she's in college, and B, like, pandemic. Like we have seen no one really, but yeah. So their friendship, none of this is like a true story. Like this is, an invented story, but based on, I guess, some real dynamics.
I love that though, that like you took the names from like people that you actually know. I love that. And I love that also like it's dedicated to Adam, because obviously I love both of you guys so much. So like the fact that I didn't notice that when I was reading it, but now that I know it, I'm like, yeah, love that. So my next question actually kind of rolls kind of off of that, because how you mentioned like with how you got the names and everything. But I was just wondering, because obviously this book is a young adult book and it has teen characters in high school and stuff. So I wanted to know, does this come naturally to you to write like in the young adult world and get into the voices of teen voices? Or does it take some time to develop and like learn some of the new terms, such as like F-boys, I know is used quite a bit in Kate in Waiting. So I'm wondering, like, did anything help you, or does it just come naturally to you to write in that voice?
That's a great question, because I think, like, I'm curious to know what other authors would say. For me, like, the thing I always just come back to, you know, my biggest touchstone, I guess, is that I am not trying to write a teen voice. As much as I can, I'm writing toward a specific character. So there's never a time when I'm sitting there kind of trying to be like, all right, what are the new slang terms or anything? It is like getting to know these characters in my head, and definitely, like, you know, trying to, like, double check with people and, like, make sure that I'm not using a word wrongly, which is 100%, you know, within the realm of possibility. Like, I am
Exactly, yeah.
certainly not a teenager. I wasn't cool even when I was a teenager. Like, the F-boys thing, that actually comes directly from Kate Anderson. They have told me all about the F-boys. I've heard about them. I would, when I was, like, writing scenes, like, there's, like, one scene where Kate and Anderson go to an F-boy party. And so I'm, like, they're asking the real Kate and Anderson. I'm like, okay, so, like, how would F-boys dress for a party? And they're, like, going on and on about, like, the way their hats are not, like, all the way down on their head. And I'm like, this has suddenly become, like, a big part of this chapter, you know? Like, so I had my, you know, just wonderful sources who were very forthcoming with that kind of insider information. But again, it's not going to be, you know, they are coming from a very particular place, and it's not going to be applicable to every teenager at all. If you are a teen reading Kate and Waiting and you do not recognize the slang, absolutely, your take-home message should not be that you are not cool. You know that, though. You know it's because I'm not cool. Like, but, like, and also it's because, you know, the language used at your school may not be the same as, you know, here in Russell, Georgia. But I love that. I think that's really fascinating. So I just tried to be faithful to these particular characters.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense for me, because there's parts where I was just like, seeing F-boys and I was like, oh my god, is she finding this from TikTok? Because I know that was a big trend on TikTok. People would say that all the time.
Like the abbreviation, or would they, like, say the whole?
No, they say, like, the full thing. Yeah, there'd be, like, a trend on TikTok about it and everything, yeah. So I was like, oh, I wonder if it came from TikTok.
The real Kate and Anderson might have gotten it from TikTok.
Yeah.
They are cool. They are on TikTok. But
this book centers around friendship and, like, platonic relationships. Of course, there is some romance also in there, of course, which I loved. I shipped it very much. I just wanted to know, is there any reason why you made, like, the primal focus based on platonic relationships rather than the romance relationships? Because I do feel like that takes more primal focus in the book as opposed to the romance element, which I love. But I was just wondering, like, is there any particular reason you went down that route instead?
You know, and I would say some of it was conscious and some of it was kind of the way the story developed. But certainly by the time it was done, that's, like, exactly how I feel about it, to the point where, you know, like, commissioning, like, book plates and design and stuff for that, you know, when it came time for HarperCollins, like, they made the, like, book trailer, it's always Kate and Anderson, you know, the best friends. A lot of where that would come from for me would be just the fact that, you know, when I was in high school, when I was a teen, my friendships were, like, the thing. That was the most important relationships, like, you know, other than my family. But,
yeah,
you know, I was not hooking up with anybody. I got no action, no making out. It was a pretty, like, bleak time in the romantic love era of my life. But I have always been really lucky to have wonderful platonic friends like that. That was true back then. It's true now. Some of them are the same people I'm, like, still in touch regularly with. So I guess I really loved having the chance to kind of honor that.
I love that, especially because, like, it's nice to know that, like, it comes from, like, a personal experience, like how those kind of relationships obviously mean a lot to you. And then the way you were able to, like, convey it through the book as well, because, like I said, it definitely is the more primal focus of the book, which I love because everyone can relate to friendships. Like, some people maybe, like, are still single, they don't have that romantic thing to relate to, but everyone is able to relate to, like, family or like just fresh friends and all that kind of stuff. So I really like that that's like the primal focus of the book. Okay, so my next question is one that I just really wanted to ask. I think it's a very important question as well. So in your books, you showcase a lot of representation, which is absolutely amazing, especially in Kate and Waiting. There's a lot of representation as well, which I love, and it's amazing to see. We definitely need to see more of it in the publishing world. But I wanted to ask you, how important is it to you to include your Jewish representation?
Oh my God, thank you so much for that question. I feel like I just like totally lost it in like an Instagram post that I'm like, I'm just gonna say it. Like, oh my God, thank you for asking that. It is so important to me in a way that I probably like wouldn't have expected when I was younger. When I grew up, I didn't think about the fact that I was Jewish all the time. Sometimes it came up, like definitely, have been asked, like, I guess not asked, I just kind of pleasantly informed that, that I'm going to hell. And, and then there are times when, school was not built around like the, Jewish holiday calendar and things like that. But it wasn't like always present. And then I think kind of the more we've been kind of seeing a rise and uptick in anti-Semitism, along with like every other kind of bigotry, like just, the last couple of years, it's really intensified. And it hasn't just started in the last couple of years, as everybody who is a member of any one of these communities knows. I have felt very like Jewish all the time, which is strange because I don't do a lot of like formal Jewish practice like in my day-to-day life. Like I personally like don't keep kosher. I don't I don't celebrate Shabbat every week. And I haven't gone to synagogue in a very long time. Some of that is pandemic related, and actually some of that is I'm a little afraid to go into those spaces because the synagogues are targeted. But I feel very Jewish a lot. It's just something that matters a lot to me, and I am not always writing about anti-Semitism. In Yes, No, Maybe So, I would say I tap into it a little bit more. That's my collab with Aisha Saeed, and we definitely talk a lot about anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. With Kate and with some of my other books, Kate is like not really religiously Jewish all the time, but she's very culturally Jewish, and she just kind of, has certain like references, I guess, just that meant something to me growing up, things that like I have kind of held and kept with me, and maybe only now am realizing kind of like, oh, that's like kind of a Jewish thing, It's always been a little bit of a point of frustration, I think, in the book community, and this is something like Jewish authors kind of privately talk about quite a bit, where I think a lot of people don't understand anti-Semitism. It functions really differently than a lot of other kinds of like isms. And so I think it can be really hard to recognize, especially progressive in progressive spaces. Like I think it's a little bit easier to recognize on the right. I think a lot of times Jewish authors and bloggers and just Jewish people in the community we are sort of used to like kind of the Jewishness going like unnoticed, like we will write these books that feel like very Jewish to us, and people will kind of mention, and by people I don't mean like, oh my gosh, like I'm not calling out like individual Goodreads reviewers or bloggers or something like that. I'm talking about like Kirkus and Publishers Week, whichever. I'm not sure, trade reviews. They will comment on every other, marginalized group that's represented in the text, sometimes even kind of, secondary or tertiary characters, and just completely miss the Jewishness of the main character, even if it feels very central to us. And that's kind of a weird feeling. It's not like the worst thing that's ever happened to Jews, but like Yeah, so I just appreciate you asking that so much.
Yeah, because I also think, like, especially with your demographic, with your books and everything, you're reaching such a target audience, like a young audience, that it's great to see this representation in it. And especially there might be other little Jewish boys and girls out there reading this book and then see things, oh, I can relate to this. Like, this is not usually in the books that I read. So it's always really nice to see representation, and just especially with the audience that you're reaching, especially for them to, you know, embrace it, love it. Like, oh my god, I read this book the other day and the main character was Jewish and she was talking about this and this, and I was like, I can relate to it. Whereas some other books, like, they don't have that. It's like we talking about all the different things, and it's like, yeah, I relate to that, but these things are just specific to me. So I think it's extremely important. I love that answer as well. I think it was a very important answer, so thank you for sharing that with me. Since you've now moved away from the Simon verse and everything, and this is your first solo novel that has absolutely nothing to do with Simon or any of those characters, do you think that now that you're starting to explore more, that you might possibly explore into different genres?
I mean, I've asked myself that. Right now, I don't think so, because, you know, I mean, world building is definitely like not my strong suit, you know, and they're like, contemporary world building is a thing, you could argue, but yeah, I feel like my stories are like so anchored to like right now. I mean, if I were to write in a different genre, I would probably honestly be like historical, and by historical I mean like Concrete Rose historical, which is like,
okay, yeah,
it's like my exact era of like being a teen, like so it was like Angie's talking about like a CD tower or whatever, and I'm like,
yeah.
yes, I feel so you know, like, yeah, but I don't have any ideas in that space at the moment either. I think if I were to branch out, it might be less genre and more like age category. I think it'd be fun to write like, you know, kind of romance or sort of contemporary rom-com romance for adults possibly, and also sometimes I think it'd be fun to write middle grade, but I don't have any specific immediate plans for either.
I personally think, like, I would so read this, like a new adult, like set in like college, like definitely still like in the contemporary world, but like just following college kids. I think I would love to read that, especially because we kind of already saw like bits of college vibes in Love Creekwood. So I think you could definitely tap into that, and I would eat that up, like eat it up. And I just think it'd be so fun because I love books set in college, so I think that also would just be another fun way, especially because like you can kind of still stay in the same age group, like 18 or so is like still going to college, so like it's not too far off. I think that'd be really fun. I don't know if you're open to suggestions, but I think that would be really fun.
I love, like, I have always wanted to write in college. I think, like, I'm not sure where I would fall genre-wise, because I know sometimes college books, every once in a while, one of them slips into YA, and I almost feel like that might be a better fit for me, just because, and, you know, and it may be as the category is expanding, there's kind of a broader range here, but yeah, like, I worry sometimes that I am, like, not up for writing, you know, enough spice and steam and sex.
Yeah,
that's something that like I am perfectly comfortable reading. But like one of the things that's, you know, true about all of my books is that, like, you know, there's not a lot of sex because that's like something that I don't feel like super confident that I could write well. And I don't feel super confident that I could like make it through that conversation like with my parents after they read it too.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, like What If It's Us has a sex scene, but you'll notice it's from Ben's point of view, which means I didn't read it. So
okay, so now I just have like kind of fun questions. They were like the more serious ones I obviously want to ask as like a reader myself, but now they just kind of move into the ones I feel like fans of you and everything will want to know. And obviously I am one of those myself, so it wasn't very hard diving into those kind of questions. So the first one that I have, now this is just a very silly one, I don't even know, like, there might not be anything to it. This book is full of like musical theatre references. Obviously the whole point of the book as well, they're doing the play Once Upon a Mattress. The little details that you included, for example, the epilogue is called The Curtain Call. The chapters are called Scene 1, Scene 2, Scene 3, Scene 4. And then there's also little references, like one of the characters is wearing a cast So obviously the minute that happened, I was like, oh my god, dear Evan Hansen. So I want to know, was that intentional? Like you just wanted to go full nerd out over all the references, or was that something that during your edits you were like, oh my god, I should change the chapters to being scene 1? Or like did it just come naturally? You're like, yes, I'm just gonna go overboard.
No, I think it was that was always there. Yeah, I think going overboard, especially when it comes to like theater stuff, is the natural inclination. Edits would be more about like scaling that back. I think like if I'm remembering correctly, it was a minute ago, but at the very beginning of the process, I kind of feel like rather than just having it be like scene 1, scene 2, I almost wanted to like divide it into like act 1, scene 1, act, like a real play. And then I was like, this is too hard. And it's like, I'm like, don't make this harder for yourself, Becky.
And then another thing I just want to know, do you personally love Once Upon a Mattress?
I do. Well, so Once Upon a Mattress. So I was in Once Upon a Mattress once.
Oh, stunning. We love that.
Yeah. I think I was a I was a sophomore. I played a lady in waiting. Not no lines, but yeah, I loved it. It was definitely, it was one of those like the play itself, like I kind of picked it. I considered a couple of different plays, but I wanted, first of all, a musical that I knew really well. Ideally, I had been in, even if it was a long time ago. And then one that like, had the sorts of roles that I wanted to like put each character in. And then going through the play, it was just like a lot of things just clicked. There were a lot of, very specific feelings related to that play that kind of came out, I'm sorry, with the narrative. So, at one point, Kate is talking about like her favorite song from Once Upon a Mattress is like one of her character songs. It's In a Little While. And by the time I wrote that scene, that concept had a very specific meaning for Kate. And that was really fun, like when that clicked. Another thing that got cut that my mom was really bummed about is that Once Upon a Mattress, I think, was originally developed and performed for this little like kind of summer bungalow community, like very like Jewish sort of place, like in the Poconos maybe or something like that, but a place called Tamament where my mom's family used to spend their summers, and they like, and it was a lot of kind of New York kind of family or families from like New York, New Jersey kind of area. My mom grew up in New Jersey, and so they would do all of these like huge summer productions that I think had like some legit Broadway kind of people involved. And I believe that is where Once Upon a Mattress debuted. I'm so sorry if I'm getting my facts wrong on this, but so it's a play that has some like family significance, even if it's like a little indirect. There was a whole subplot where Kate's mom had some kind of connection in some way to that, but it just, I was trying to shoehorn it in. I'm so sorry, Mom.
I love that once again, like that you obviously have the tie to it, like, and you were in it yourself. That's everything. Like I actually myself wasn't familiar with the play, not the play, musical. I know Kate would not be happy that I just said play, musical. I just love that you had the personal connection to it. That's really like, I love that. I just love when there's always that personal tie, and it just means a lot more. Then it's not just some random thing that you just picked a music, you're like, okay, let's do this one, but like you actually had meaning towards it, so I love that. Now, the next question, this might not be even canon, but in my head it is, and when I read it, I did freak out. So on scene 46, there is a moment where Matt, who's one of the characters in the book, and Anderson are talking, and they're talking about Oreos, and then Matt is like saying, like in terms of context, Matt is like saying just you love Oreos and stuff, and then the Anderson, who is gay in the book, he just says, oh, do gay people have to love Oreos now? And I just need to know, was that a reference to Love, Simon or Simon at all?
It was, but if you watching this think that that's super obnoxious, you can pretend it has to do with like Pride Oreos or something. But yeah, absolutely. I know it's like insufferable, but I truly could not resist. Because Kate and Anderson would be fans of Love, Simon. They would. They may not have read the book. Like I don't know if they read the book, but they definitely would have seen the movie.
When I read that, I was like, this has to be Simon related. Like, there's no reason Becky would put this in other than that reason. And I was like, if it's not canon, I'm going to be so sad. So that just made me so happy that it is. If Simon was to audition for Once Upon a Mattress, what role do you think he would be casted for?
Our boy would be cast as like ensemble. Like, I think he would be like a gentleman in waiting, or a lord, you know, like yeah, he'd be one of the like background dudes, you know.
Like, I was obviously thinking about that question because I just wanted to know, because obviously like there is like obviously musical theatre and stuff, and like Love, Simon and everything. And so I was like, I wonder, where would Simon be? And then I was like, he's definitely just one of the background characters. Like, he's like the Noah of Kate in Waiting. I was like, yeah, this fits. I could see that happening. Then my final question is, what's one thing that you hope readers can take away from Kate after they finish reading it?
That's a good question. Like, and I'm always like, you know, I never want to tell readers like what message you should pull out of it, because that is going to be different for every reader. I don't know, maybe I think one of the things that's really cathartic about writing this book for me was I got to like delve into just some of those feelings that I, you know, was going through around the time when I wrote it, which when I wrote the first draft, which would have been around 2018, like when the movie came out. This book was one of the unusual things about my process for this book is I wrote it in one summer, put it down, and then picked it back up the next summer, because, and the reason that happened is because Yes, No, Maybe So, my collab with Aisha, is so like political, and it like kind of needed to come out at a certain time. So it kind of, you know, the schedule got reworked. The time when I wrote Kate, I almost unintentionally kind of poured a lot of my own feelings about being like just, you know, bullied, shamed, harassed online, and just kind of feeling, you know, just the way that kind of affects the way you move through the world. And what I found, like when I was sort of going through just a variation of that again, in 2020, after the book was basically done, and I'm like reading it over and over again for the different editorial phases and the past pages and the formatting and the copy edits, all those things, that was really helpful for me. It's almost like past Becky had like given a gift to, I guess, another past Becky, like, but like 2018 Becky to 2020 Becky. And so I guess I hope that it has the potential to do that for other people who feel very alone in their shame around that.
I think it's definitely going to do that, especially as well, like it does give a sense of hope by the end of the book as well, and just like how everything comes back together. I don't want to say any spoilers, but the way everything like just comes back together, and like the way all the issues are resolved, and how Kate is like her journey that she went on since the start of the book to the end of the book, and like how her character developed throughout, and this, like all of the different things that she went through, and then by the end of it she's like a new person, she's a happier person. And I feel like obviously if you read the book you can come away with that sense of like, okay, I could go, if they went through this, like I can go through that too, and everything's gonna be okay at the end. So I definitely think it does give like a sense of hope, which obviously is an amazing message, especially during the time that we're in right now. Hope is very much needed and appreciated. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. This was absolutely amazing. I literally could not believe I got the opportunity to do this. Thank you for taking the time to do it with me. I just really appreciate it, and I wish you all the success with Kate in Waiting. I hope that it does amazingly. I'm sure that it will, and I just cannot wait to see it thrive and see whatever you put out next into the world. You know, I will be ready and waiting. Like Kate said, it will be Kevin in waiting for the next book. I will be there ready to go. And yeah, just thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Yeah, I, like a dork, requested this. Like, I was like, so yeah, you're incredible. Thank you for everything you've done for my work, and just also for the community in general. And yeah, I love your content. I love you. You're the best. So
gonna make me cry. Yeah, thank you so much, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. So yeah, that was my interview with Becky Albertalli. I still cannot believe I got to do that. It was just such an amazing opportunity, and thank you so much to Penguin Random House UK for letting me get the opportunity to do this. It was just such an amazing thing, and the fact that my first ever author interview is with the author of my favorite book of all time, amazing, literally amazing. This is like a top tier bucket list thing that I've done with BookTube, and I'm just so happy. I loved every second of it. I hope you guys also enjoyed the interview. I thought Becky's discussions on her Jewish representation was really amazing, and I loved getting to hear that story, and I just really hope you guys enjoyed our conversation too. But yeah, once again, go check out Kate and Wayne. It is now out today in the UK and Ireland. I think it came out a couple of days ago in the US and stuff, but it's out now in the UK and Ireland, so be sure to go check it out if you're a fan of Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda and all of Becky's other books. And yeah, thank you once again for watching this video, and I shall see you guys all next time in my next video. So goodbye, guys.